Hey guys, a very good morning, good evening to all of you, and welcome to the second part of Advanced Warehousing Concepts. So, as you know, we've already started with the Advanced Warehousing full course, and let me walk you through what we've covered in the last session. All right. So, as we can see, guys, if you are watching this session for the first time, I'll urge you to go back to the first session. This is the second one, okay? So last time we covered some of the important concepts like what exactly is the difference between simple warehouse and advanced warehouse, the prerequisites or the configurations which are required so that we can go ahead with the setup of location and each and everything. Okay. So we've already discussed what is warehouse type, and today we'll be discussing the item setup, the concepts of reservation hierarchy and inventory status and license plate, which are very crucial. To get a good understanding of advanced warehouse mechanism is very much essential. So they are already explained in the previous session. All right, so let's go ahead with the item setup, and also I'll touch base upon the reservation hierarchy and a bit about inventory status. Okay, so we are back again in our system. This is the default Dynamics 365 demo data system we can see here. So these were the notes from the last session. So let me recap. Warehouse, it has to be set to advanced. Then only we can do the advanced warehousing transactions, storage dimensions. We need to enable it to the advanced type, which will enable location, inventory status, and license plate. A reservation hierarchy, I told you the order of reservation of storage dimensions. So you already know where the reservation hierarchy is. Let me walk you through once more. Warehouse management, and under setup, and we have it a reservation hierarchy. Let me just search it here. I always forget where the path are. Okay, reservation hierarchy. So setup inventory. Okay, it's always the inventory. Now we try. Always end up in warehouse. Okay, so inventory and reservation hierarchy. So these are all the reservation hierarchies. I already explained it. So today we are going to use all of these things in the item creation. Okay, and inventory status I've already explained. So let me quickly go to released products. Go to the released products, and let us create a warehouse item now. All right. So let me go and create a product. Let me call it ITM 002. Actually, product number and item number should have been auto-populated, but the number sequence setup is not there, and hence we are manually typing it. Otherwise, usually the product numbers, item numbers, sales order numbers, purchase order numbers, they should all be set initially. Okay, now let me say it's, should I take? Okay, Sony speakers. I have it right in front of me. All right, so this is very common. As you know that I've already explained all of these things in the first session in the product information management. So if you're not familiar with this, please go to the first session. In the item model group, I can select, let me say, the FIFO inventory model. In the item group, I can select any random group. Storage dimension. Now, this is very much important. I do not have to select anything which is not having inventory status, location, and license plate. So I have to select the one which I created in the last session. Why? Because this is the advanced warehouse type of storage dimension. Tracking dimension, let me say I do not want to track the item number as of now. It's not having batch number or serial number, so I'll just take none. Inventory units looks good to me. If you want to modify these to PCS or piece, whatever piece or whatever it's each is, it's anyway, it's piece. So that's all we have to do. And we have to specify two more additional things. First is reservation hierarchy. So these are all the reservation hierarchies. Let me say, I want to have the batch above location, which means the batch is above the location. So batch number must be reserved first. Let me just take this one. But as you can see, if I'm trying to use this one, it will throw an error. The settings for the reservation hierarchy do not match. Any idea why? because we are taking a reservation hierarchy of batch above, or if I do the same with batch below, let me say, so this is a batch below, the same issues. You know why? Because we do not have any tracking dimension. So this reservation hierarchy must be set according to the tracking dimension. If I set my tracking dimension as something which is having batch number enabled as this, and now I try to select any of the reservation hierarchy having batch involved, it will not throw any kind of error. Because now it makes perfect sense. I want batch, I want location, but I do not have batch number. So that's a stupid idea to go for. For now, for the sake of demonstration, let me just take, I do not want any tracking dimension. So what I'll do is I'll just simply, select the default reservation hierarchy. And if you remember, this is not having any kind of batch dimension. This is good to go. Our item is created. Let me assign an initial price of, let me say 56, and I'll click on OK. So reservation hierarchy, important. So if you look properly in the item setup, if I go to the item setup, four important things. First is proper storage dimension. And you know which dimension I'm talking about, the one which is having the advanced warehouse enabled, because of which all the storage dimensions are enabled. Second is reservation hierarchy. Reservation hierarchy. Second, the system will not throw error if you forget to do that. But when you will add the line, add the item on the sales order line, it will throw the error. Then you have to remove the line, add the reservation hierarchy again, and then go ahead with that. And third is unit sequence group. Very important. Unit sequence groups. Let's talk about the unit sequence groups now. So guys, the item is set up, everything looks good, so far so good, but in the warehouse, now this is additional setup that we have to do. So what this is, basically unit sequence group is, to put it simply, you can say all possible units in which I can do transactions, inventory transactions, like receiving item, like receiving item. That's it. See, let me give you an example that will be much more clear. So if I go to view details, there are already some unit sequence group setup. I think this will give you the example. Each box and pallet. It means I can receive this particular item, like on whatever item, if I'm going to, use this unit sequence group. It's basically saying you can do the inventory transactions in eaches, you can do it in boxes, you can do it in pallets. And by the name, it looks like, each is like a single piece. Box is like, let me say one box is having 10 pieces. And pallet is something bigger than box. Let me say one pallet is having 10 boxes. So in short, one pallet is having 10 boxes, 1 equals 10, and one box is having 10 units. So basically one pallet is having 100 pieces or eaches. Now you'll ask me, Vipin, but where is the unit conversion? That we have to define. But for now, unit sequence groups only mean that what are the possible, in units in which we can receive, and it actually makes perfect sense. Let me say there are some items which are always arriving at your warehouse in bulk. So every time receiving 1,000 items, 2,000 items looks very good if you just receive 5 pallets. And the system will store it properly. I mean, you can receive it in pallets, and if you see in the inventory, it will show you 5,000 or whatever the unit conversion is. But since this is a mandatory setup, now you can have a question. But Vipin, I don't want to use, any kind of conversion. Anyway, I'm good with eaches. But still, if the item is the advanced warehouse item, you still have to use the unit sequence group. So if you don't want to use any kind of conversion, then use eaches. If you want to use any kind of conversion, let me use the kind of conversion, each box and PL save. If you are using this, then obviously we need to define the product conversions. So go to product, because now again there's an issue. Our system doesn't understand one pallet equals how many eaches. or probably one each is greater than pallet or less than that. We'll just go with unit conversions. And let me go ahead and click on new. And you can see, guys, speaking of unit conversions, there are three types of conversions: standard conversions, which are obviously there by default. You can add some more standard conversions. Interclass conversion is something different, which means between classes. I will be using it when I want to say 1 meter equals 10 pounds or kilograms, because this is between different classes. Inter and intra, I hope you remember all these terms, while studying in 6th or 7th grade. Intra makes sense because everything is pallet is a receiving unit. It's a quantity unit. The box is a quantity unit, and pieces is also belonging to the quantity. So I'll use the intra-class conversion. I'll go ahead and let me say each is perfectly fine. So one was box, if I'm not wrong. So one box equals, what's that box or what? Yeah, one box equals, let me say 10 pieces, 10 eaches. Perfect. Eaches. Okay. This is done. Now I have to specify another unit conversion. Now between eaches and all of these things, conversion is defined. Now I want to define between pallet. One pallet or PL, whatever it was. Hopefully this was thing PL, pallet. Now I want to say one pallet holds 10 boxes. Okay, then I'll say 10, then boxes. That's done. But hold on a minute, hold on for a minute. Actually, I have to define between pallet and eaches also. Now you say this is a kind of redundant thing, but guys, it's not an artificial intelligence software, so we have to define the rules. Obviously, one pallet, it makes sense. One pallet is having 10 boxes, one box 10 pieces, so one pallet is having 100 eaches. So whenever you want to do any kind of unit sequence, if you want to specify multiple unit sequence groups, this is the way to go. Now this makes perfect sense. As you can see, one box is 10 eaches, one pallet is 100 eaches, one pallet is 10 boxes. Now we can receive in any of the units, and it will make perfect sense. And I'll show you this receiving when we'll, after a few sessions, when we'll be doing the purchase order receiving. Okay. So item is now set up. So these are all the ingredients, or I can say the important setups, additional setups which are required for the advanced warehouse item. Let me say advanced warehouse item. Okay. So keep all of these things in mind. Now, let's do one thing. Okay. So, all right. Now let me go to the location setup. There are certain things that I want to tell you, like we can change the inventory status, and we can assign the inventory status, as you can see. So let me say, if there is let me have a look at all the items: product information management, order inventory management. This is one thing I don't want to skip. If I go to the inquiries and reports on hand list, and let me filter down all the items. Apply. I do not want any kind of filters. Now, since these are some new additional dimensions, let me say you can ask a question like, if the inventory status is available. Let me say I blocked it. So how do I change these inventory status? How do I change them from one type to another type? So the most of them are available and all. How do I change them? Basically, this is very simple. You can go to warehouse management, and then you can go to inquiry. I think it's in the periodic task. There is inventory status change. It's super simple actually. You can define to which inventory status you want to change. Let me say I want to change it to VIP block. And then here is the main thing. You can define the filters, because obviously you would not want to change it for everything. Define the filter. Let me say there are certain items that you want to define. You can define the item number here, but then you say, come on, Vipin, this item is present in 10 different locations, and I just want it, I want to change the status of only one location. Then define the item, also define the add another query, and define the location also. Change the field to location. So item plus location is going to change the inventory status. And then define, and then click on OK. And if you click on OK, then this query will run, and those items will be changed to this particular inventory status. So this is how you can manually change the inventory status. There are some automated ways of changing the inventory status also. We'll discuss it later on. Okay, so this was just one thing I did not want to skip. And similarly, we can change the reservation hierarchy for items. So this is also possible. So if you click on change reservation hierarchy, let me say you have added a wrong reservation hierarchy, like prior to transactions or something like that, and maybe you want to change it, then you can select the reservation hierarchy. Similarly, you can select the record, select the item, click on OK, then the reservation hierarchy for that particular item can be easily changed. So this is how you can play with the inventory status change with the reservation hierarchies. Okay, although reservation hierarchy is something which should not be changed ideally for any kind of item once the transaction is done. It really doesn't make any kind of sense. A better idea will be to to stop that item, I mean to disable that item and create a new item, obviously. Anyway, I think enough with the revision. Now let us move on to exciting location setup. Okay, this is a kind of one major milestone. So now I'll go for the uh, location setup. So these are all the prerequisites. Once these concepts are clear, you are good to go with location setup. So location setup. Now guys, this is having quite a few concepts, but they are super simple. First thing is location types. Second is location formats. Remember the flow. This flow is very important. Otherwise, you will get confused. There are a lot of terms, but believe me, advanced warehousing is super simple. If you know the concepts, location formats. Third is location profile. Location profiles. Finally, we can say create locations, location creation. Let's look through location creation, always with typo process. Both are there. The first one is manual. Second one is using result. Result is very much exciting. And now you'll see within these are so many terms like what exactly is that? Don't worry, these are super simple. I'll just explain you. Location types. You can say it's a logical segmentation of the floor of your warehouse. Meaning, you have a warehouse, and let me say, so the floor of the warehouse or the portions of the warehouse are divided into, let me say, at least three parts. We'll not make it much more complex. I'll train you in such a way that once you know all these concepts, then you can configure any amount of complexity. But for now, let us say there is a location in your warehouse where trucks are coming, where the users are going to unload for the purchase order. Okay, so that we can say is a receiving location. Then there is a location within the warehouse where actually it's at like few rooms or anything else where the actual inventory is stored. Like those are the main locations where the inventory is stored. So it is coming at one location, let me say receiving location. Then you are doing all those registration, product receipts, and each and everything, and finally your item is it's pushed onto that particular shelf where it should be stored before it can be sold. So that can be your inventory location or your bulk location. Then let me say once the order is placed by the customer, so now you want to sell that item. And obviously on other side of your warehouse, there are some trucks waiting, some vehicles waiting so that you can load that. So you'll pick the item from the inventory location and put it on the bay door location. So receiving, inventory, bay door. So these are essential. These are physical. These are physical segmentations in your warehouse. So there can be multiple things. For example, let me start with initial receiving location. Okay, there can be main inventory location. inventory, UK people like to call it stock location, or let me say bulk locations. All right. And then, when the sales order is placed, now a truck is waiting for there. But, it's not like they just pick one item, put it onto the truck, and okay, you can go. No, the picking and putting all of these things are actually happening throughout the day. Then once some good amount of, the items are, they are already posted to the bay door location. So we can call it shipping or bay door location. So these three, I think this is the minimum location types that you will have in any kind of normal warehouse. Okay, it makes perfect sense. This is where all the inventory is stored. This is where daily people are coming and receiving the inventory after doing the product receipt and registration. Finally, the inventory is put here, and when the sales order is placed, on that day or a day before, the things are, the items are picked up from the shelf and they are put, they are pushed to the bay door location, shipping location, where the truck driver will, it will take all these items and will just dispatch the items to various cities or countries. So this is called location types. Logical segmentation, nothing to worry. In between, we can actually have, when the warehouses are a bit more complex, we can have certain, staging location. So this is also a possibility. Let me say there is one location called staging location. There are few locations which are of type staging location can be present here. And what is this going to do is the items are going to be received in the warehouse in the receiving location. And I'm now assuming it's a huge warehouse like Amazon or Flipkart or eBay, something like that. Then the items are received here. Then the truck has to depart. Then for some time, these items are picked up and put on a temporary locations. Okay, so those temporary locations can be the staging area. So this is the receiving area, the staging area. Similarly, from the staging area, maybe some sort of inspection is going on or whatever is going on. Finally, the item is inspected and everything is like, okay, this is a perfect item. Just put it on the shelf. And from here also, during the sales process also, this can happen that we have a staging location before we are finally going to the shipping or bay door. So these are all nothing but the various types of areas, which we call it location types. Very important. A location format, super simple. What should be the nomenclature of locations? Nothing fancy, as the name suggests, format. See, receiving location, let me say there are one or two receiving. Usually there is one receiving location in a warehouse until and unless a warehouse is super huge. Then let me say, okay, my receiving location, my receiving location name should be, let me say there are two receiving locations. Let me say there are like R1, R1, R2. There are two receiving locations. These are my receiving locations. Whenever the item will be received, it will be received at R1 location or the R2 location. So this is the location format. Makes sense. Only two locations, but I can have huge amount of inventory locations. See, majority of the area, or I can say 95% or 90% of the area is going to be the inventory area only, because warehouse is meant for keeping the items, for the inventory items, for the stock. Okay, so now I want to say, okay, this looks good, no issues with the receiving area. But since I'm having a huge amount of inventory, so how have you configured your inventory? Some people like to call it like a combination of aisle and rack. Some people want it, shelf and bin. So we can say ASRB, which is aisle, shelf, rack, and bin. I haven't seen, more than these segmentations. Aisle, shelf, rack, and bin. Some want rack and bin only. Let me say, this particular warehouse is a small warehouse, and the items are having the locations are having the nomenclature just as like bulk 0101 up to bulk uh, 10 and 10. So these are some valid inventory locations. So obviously we can see it will be like 0101, 0102, 0103. So for every one aisle, it will be having the 10 locations. Okay. So and total number of aisles can be like 99 aisles. So 99. So there are a lot of locations, a lot of possibilities here. So whatever the customer says, this is our warehouse map. Let me say customer is saying this is my bulk location, or like this is how we are dividing it. All this nomenclature. They can use any kind of nomenclature. So I want to use the inventory locations, something like this. Perfect. What about the shipping locations? Let me say there is only one or two shipping locations. So a good idea will be to use S1, S2. I think this is enough. So these defining all of these things so that when the locations will be created, remember right now, guys, locations are not yet created. Locations will be created in this tab. Location types, defining areas. Location formats, defining formats. Location profiles, very important. And almost every new consultant is confused here. It means we can say features, constraints on the locations. Plus, it's going to plus above to. So it's like, add above to, which means first and foremost, this is going to club location types and location formats. Finally, the location profile is going to enable or disable certain features, maybe apply some sort of constraints on the locations. But you'll ask, Vipin, but locations are not yet created. How is location profile able to determine the feature of a particular location? Because location creation process will only look at location profiles. That's it. So location type, location formats, everything will be combined together to form a location profile. And location profile will have certain features, constraints, or rules, I can say. So basically, we have all the information that is required to create a location in location profile. So the mechanism for creating the location will explicitly use the location profile, and finally our locations will be created, and the locations will be having the features, constraints, characteristics, or rules depending on what kind of location profile is being used for a particular location. The feature of one location will be exactly dependent on the type of location profile being used. So we can use multiple location profiles for that. Okay, so this is one. So very important, do not forget the concepts here. Finally, location creation process is super simple. It's like, you're just you're just taking a location. The input is location profile, created manually, created using a wizard. Now enough with all of this. Let's move on to the demonstration straight away. These concepts are very much important, guys. Okay, don't be confused. So what I'll do is I'll navigate to the warehouse management setup. Go to the warehouse location types. So already there are certain location types present here. Let me do everything from scratch so that it looks we are actually configuring a warehouse and not using the existing configurations. Okay. So you can see I have to let me create only three types of location types: receiving, bulk, and payload. Okay. So let me say VIP. I just want to give. Let me write V. V receiving, create V bulk, where our inventory is going to be placed, and create V Daydor or chip. Let me call it chip. Most of the people are not familiar with Daydor term. Save. That's it. Super simple setup. Nothing else. Now let's go to location formats. So you can see we can have multiple formats. We can have aisle, shelf, rack, bin, or whatever. Let me just create a simple format. So first, I want to create a format for my receiving locations, which is super simple. Only two, I can say two alphabets, two literals, R1, R2. That's it. Okay, no issues. Let me give the name V receiving. We receive name we receive. Here, very important. Here you can type any kind of description. So type something meaningful because this will help us when we will be creating the locations using the wizard. Okay. So my first thing is, let me say, so this is my, you can say it's a string, although string is combination of more than one character. Anyway, let me call it string length 1. Okay. Do you want any kind of separator? Between R and 1, there is no separator. If it was S1, I would have used the hyphen. I don't want any separator. Create line 2. Now, line 2 is actually number. I'm telling you that here you can type anything. This is for your own understanding. Number. What is the length? The length should be 1. Any kind of separator after that? No. Save. So now you can see our format is present there. It's 0. It's actually showing 0, 0, but later on we will just convert it to R1, R2. In short, it's saying that this format is going to be of this type. Now let me type for the bulk location, which is B hyphen 01. In fact, let me remove this hyphen. This will make it a bit more complex and it will look at B01, so it looks good. Okay, B0101. So for this, what we'll do is, first let me type V bulk ULK. Type first is string or alphabet, whatever you want to type. In fact, let me say 1. Okay. After that, there is no separator. Okay. Then here we have number. Let me type number, and you know that right now number is there are two numbers. So this time this length will be 2. Perfect. And after that, the separator will also come. And then we'll type the third. You see, it's trying to take that shape now. Type number again, 2, and click on save. And we have our required format. Similarly, let me click for ship. So we ship. Okay. So once this is there, let me say my first one is, so this time we are going to create S-1. So S is alphabet or string, whatever you want to type, just type it. Length is 1. Here I want this separator. Next, it's string, then it's number. Length is 1. Click on save. So we have created all our required formats now. Perfect. Now is the main deal, location profiles. We'll go to location profiles. Now you will have an understanding. Okay, so what I was talking about, the constraints and everything. So this is what location profile is. Let me create a location profile for receiving. It's not mandatory you want to create the location profiles for every kind of location types. No. That's not at all a criteria. But I just want to create separate location profiles for some different things to do. Okay. So we receiving. Okay, I want to create a location profile for this. Control C, Control V, C. Now it's asking me what location formats you want. So I want to use the receiving location format. So we receive. Perfect. And what is the, so whenever, and what should be the location type? See, any in future, when the location is going to be created, it will use this format. Perfect. Then that particular location should have what kind of logical segmentation? Well, I want it for receiving. I want to designate that particular location as receiving area location. So we receive it. So this is how location format and location type is being used. Now, these are all the rules, constraints, and things that you want to do. allow negative inventory. So the location which will be produced, which will be created using this location profile ID we receive, should that location allow negative inventory, allow mixed items, allow mixed inventory statuses, allow mixed inventory batches, allow cycle counting. This is all you can configure. So I want to allow the mixed items, I can do that. I want to allow the mixed inventory statuses, I can do that. If you disable them, the system will throw error. See, hey, you cannot use the mixed item batches. You know why? Because this is enabled or that is disabled. The user will get a crystal clear error. Then there are some other settings also. I don't want to go through each and every setting because I don't want to confuse you. These are small things that I'll make videos in future once we get to the configuration of inbound and outbound processes. Because if I start to deep dive in each one of these, believe me, it will take hours and hours, and we will deviate from what we are trying to do. But for the most important and the common configurations are these only. Rarely, like 1 out of 100 customers are actually using some other things. For example, allow cycle counting. Cycle counting is nothing but the inventory counting which is done. I hope you are familiar with the inventory counting, why they are done. So it will make much more sense to allow cycle counting in the bulk area. It's a stupid idea to do cycle counting where in the temporary receiving location. Receiving locations are temporary locations only. So it's not a good idea to do this. Okay. So similarly, in fact, if you go down here, then here you can basically you can use all the locations, dimensions, location volume, because in Dynamics 365 there's a feature also where system will take into consideration the area or the volume of that particular location and will then instruct you, okay, you can put the items here. The location is it's totally empty, or it's full, or it's partial full. I don't want to go into all of those details right now. So we can check these when we'll be talking about special scenarios for location capacity constraints. Okay, so just forget it of all these things right now. The one most important thing that you should know is during receiving, very important, one important point, because see, these are the things, because when I was configuring advanced warehouse management, always some or the other place, you are getting small errors. So golden rule is use license plate tracking in receive and ship location. Not mandatory for other locations. Now, this is the feature of Dynamics 365. So what this is doing, and this is going to confuse you with a particular menu item. So let me write down use license plate tracking. What is the meaning of this? Use license plate tracking simply means that location can handle license plate. In fact, it's mandatory. In fact, it's mandatory. So if I'm going to create the location, if I enable this, click save. So if I'm going to create the location using this location profile ID, then that particular location will always and always ask for license plate. Like let me say location 01 is created. So when you are trying to put some item on that location 01, it will say, okay, site, okay, what is your warehouse? Okay, what is your location? And if you try to put that, it will say, hey, stop. This location is license plate tracking control. Tell me the name of the license plate, on which license plate to put. This simply means license plate is necessary and you will have to provide that license plate in any kind of inventory transaction on that particular location, which is created using this location profile. And in Dynamics 365, receiving location and shipping locations, they need to be license plate controlled. This is the standard rule. It makes sense because license plate labels and all of these things are generated. So this actually makes sense. And it's a mandatory thing. So for receiving, I'm enabling the license plate tracking. Now let me create another location profile. Let me say V bulk and this. And here I want to use the location format of the bulk, the big one, D001. And I want to designate that location as bulk locations. Guys, remember, the locations are not yet created. We are creating the location profiles. We'll use these to create locations. Do you want to enable the license plate tracking? No, I don't want any license plate tracking. I want that in the inventory locations, the users do not have to again and again scan that license plate. They can do transactions without using the license plate. Perfect, no issues. If you want to disable it, disable it. Disabling this means now the system, now this particular location which will be created using this license plate, this location profile. Now that location will not ask for any kind of license plate. You can simply pick and put without using any kind of license plate. Allow mixed items. Yes, I want to allow them, allow them. And here it makes sense to allow the cycle counting because these are the main inventory locations. Perfect. Let me create another. Let me say V and ship location. Here also, as I said, we need to have the license plate enabled. What format do you want to use? Well, I want to use the format V-ship format, location time. I want to designate those locations as shipping locations. Perfect. Enable license plate tracking. Otherwise, it will throw error. Guys, I know all of these things because I have done these configurations a lot of times. So I just, I'm just taking you through each and every step where you should not mess up because believe me, out of all these configurations, another 6, 7 configurations are coming in the next session. And after that, only and only after that, you will be able to do the inbound receiving. And if any one setup goes wrong, you will not be able to figure out what went wrong or what went right. And it will be a mess. So I'm picking all these concepts relatively slowly as compared to other sessions. All right. So license plate tracking, I do not want to do any kind of cycle counting. Okay, please allow them. I have no issues with mixed items. Looks good to me. Save. That is it. Our things are done. In fact, we did not need, we never, I think I don't need to create this V-ship because if you remember this and receive, no, yeah, I need to create it because the location formats and the location types are different. If the location formats and location types were same, I could have used the same receiving. Okay. Anyways, enough with the location profiles. So I hope these concepts are clear. Again, remember license plate tracking means that location can handle the license plate. In fact, it's mandatory to specify license plate. Okay. So do not get confused with this. All right. Speaking of license plates, let me just show you where license plates are located in the system. I showed you the inventory status. Okay. So if I go to setup inventory statuses, so all our inventory statuses are present here. Similarly, reservation hierarchies are present here. Then we have the license plates also. Let me see where this is. I think it's in the warehouse maybe. License plates. Yeah. So these are all the license plates present. So basically, I can create a new license plate. Let me say VIP 001. Let me create another license plate VIP 002. Let me create another license plate VIP 003. So this is how we create the license plates. There is some automated technique also, which I'll tell you, when we'll be doing the purchase order item receiving. But for now, whatever is present on this license plate, you can view this by going in on hand list. We know nothing is present there. So basically, if this license plate is present in a particular location, and this license plate is having, let me say, 4 types of items of quantity 2, 2, 3, 7, then this on hand list will actually show all those 4 items, the inventory, the locations, and where they are present. So as I told you, license plate is nothing but a handling unit. It's like clubbing some some items together, maybe a single item, maybe multiple items. So this is how the license plate. So now these 3 license plates which I have created, now they are not attached with any location as of now. You can use these license plates anywhere in the warehouse. But once the inventory transaction is done, then it gets attached to a particular location. then either you can move the full license plate or the contents of the license plate. Okay, this is how the license plate is created. All right, now the thing for which we've been waiting for almost 50 minutes, location creation. First, let me show you how many locations are present in our warehouse. So we created a warehouse yesterday. And if I remember, it was a something like a, right? AWH. So this is the warehouse. Perfect. Now let me look at the locations, inventory locations and all. Let me see how many locations are there. There are no locations right now present because we have not created anyone. But if you remember, guys, do not be confused with this location. You will say, Vipin, how? We even did not create any kind of location profile ID like user. We only created 3 location profile IDs, receiving, bulk, and shipping. What is this user location doing? Actually, this is the location which automatically gets created by the system, and this is used for the mobile device user. Okay. In fact, I've come across a blank database where this thing was not automatically created, and I tried to receive or do any kind of warehouse mobile device operation. It was throwing me some sort of error. That was weird. Then when I manually created this location for a particular warehouse, then all the issues were solved. So this is the location. Do not get confused. This is the location which is automatically created. But if I disregard this location, I can see I do not have any kind of locations as per my location profile IDs. So let's create one. Let me go ahead. And so this is the manual way of creating. Location, I want to create, let me say I want to create the location R1 and R2. I can go ahead and say, okay, R1 location, perfect. Just neglect these check dates. They are for the some sort of parity check. So we do not. This is a kind of a technical thing. We really do not need to worry about the check dates. Location R1 is okay, but what are the qualities of R1? As you can see, this is a mandatory field. Specify location profile ID. So location we receive. Perfect. Save. And there is something called zone also. It's very simple. We'll just talk about these zones later on because I never wanted you to confuse with zones and even if everything is perfectly fine with the location type, why we are using zones. For now, you can imagine that a lot of warehouse implementations don't even care about zones. But for some, it's extremely important. So we'll anyway talk about these after our course is finished in the miscellaneous scenarios. So location one is created, perfect. Now I want to create second location. Let me create this one also manually, R2, and this must have the we receive, perfect. But if there are 100 locations, then again, this is a stupid idea. What I'll do is I'll just go to location setup result. Perfect. Just have to specify a few things. Which is the warehouse? I'm using the AWS warehouse. AWH. Perfect. Location profile. I want to use the V bulk location. Perfect. And as soon as I select this, you can see the location format of the V bulk is just, it's just being displayed here. And now we can see, so now here, all of that numbering and naming was important. I can see, okay, this is one alphabet from number to number. Since it's an alphabet, I do not need to specify any kind of number. I anyway know that I have to specify B0101. So I know this is not a number, so I will not specify any number. I'll just say static text. And the text should be B. Second number, now this makes more sense. It's like from 1, so I can specify it from 1 to 9, 1 to 9, that will create all the locations. So let me say it starts from 1 and ends at, for now I don't want to create a huge number of locations. Let me say 1 to 1. So basically, I want the location B0101 to B02 or B22. Click on create. And you can see these locations are now added. Isn't it super simple? You can create hundreds of locations within a fraction of seconds. You can see our locations are now added. Whatever the range we specified, our locations are now added. Similarly, even if I want to create these two locations, I can still do it with the wizard. Let me click on location setup wizard, warehouse A, WH, location profile ID, V ship. That's it. Here the static text was S, and I just want two shipping locations, S1 and S2. 1, 2. Separator and region, everything is already present. So no issue, no need to worry about that. That information is already present in the location format. Create, and we can see S1 and S2 are now added. So now basically we have all the required locations. So warehouse can be pretty much complex with some good amount of different locations. Let me say even the bulk locations can be B00, 102, C, D, E. Maybe they are representing different tiles or whatever. But anyway, all you have to do is just manipulate the location format, and there you go. Now these locations are created within this particular warehouse. Okay, so this is how the locations are created. Okay, so let me recap of what we studied today. We studied the location types, location formats, location profiles. These are very important concepts, guys. You'll see its use after probably 1 or 2 sessions. And a location creation process, manual as well as this. If you have followed me till now, till here, I think you are you are doing an awesome job. So in the next session, this is enough for this session. In the next session, we'll be talking about, this is what we've covered. Now we'll be talking about the mobile device menu items. So probably we'll start with procurement and all of these things. Okay. So that was for today. Soon I'll be uploading these sessions. I know I have to create a few more videos. All right, guys. I hope this was something valuable for you. Please make use of this video. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye bye.